He's from Tipperary, but he's all... Well, I have nothing to do with it.
But,
You may have influenced him wearing the kilts and things, but...
New songs being written in the folk idiom, and some great ones have been written.
That's right. Yeah.
Somebody said, they're talking about history as or folk music as history. They said that written history was never anything more than the propaganda of the victor.
That's true.
Boy, there was not a lot of propaganda where our stuff was concerned.
Whereas folk songs were the true history of the people who were living through it.
That's a fact. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
You must have found over the years, I mean, your own presentation of it gets over to people who wouldn't normally listen to folk music.
That's true, yeah.
You know, on stage. I mean, your concert audiences, as I suppose, are ours. You maybe bring people in because of a very popular kind of presentation, which I don't think is invalid at all. I mean, a lot of people will criticise you and us, I suppose, for that presentation.
Well, of course, all music is like language. It's a changing, living thing, and it keeps sort of evolving and changing and adapting to its new environment.
Well,
and we did that with folk music, and one of the factors involved was the fact that we started in America. And when we got up to sing some of our Irish songs, we realized that Americans wouldn't understand half what we were saying. The same as some of the Scots songs. I mean, they're not immediately understandable to people outside Scotland. So we just changed them to make them understood by our audience. And I think the fact that we had been in theater taught us the lesson that if your audience do not understand you, you're a dead duck no matter what you're doing.
Exactly, that's true. That's true.
And so we did change them, and we make no apologies to anybody. I mean, we changed them too.
One of the kind of sad things to see in the trends of music today is that, well, we had a fellow who used to produce and distribute our records in America, worked with CBS, and I met him years later, and he said, the business has changed so much. He said, when we were recording with Columbia Records, they tried to record music for all the variety, the multitudes of tastes, classical, folk, rock and roll, country and western, hillbilly, and all the different musical types. He said then they realized that they owned the radio station, they owned the television network, they owned the means of communication, so they began to manufacture the taste for the audience.
Well, I think the same
And they began to manipulate.
Yeah, I think the same thing.
So that modern music, to a great extent, is not a spontaneous outpouring of music as has been from time immemorial, but rather a manufactured industry.
One of the big differences between Tin Pan Alley, as they used to call it, or the sort of commercial folk music, or commercial popular music, and folk music, there's a very big difference. And that is that most folk music was written by people who felt very strongly about something and wanted to express it. And that's the only motive for their writing the song. Whereas in the commercial side, a man wrote a song to make money, which is also valid, but somehow there is a difference.
That's why folk musicians don't make any money, and the people who commercially make lots of money.
That's why we're all sitting here talking about it. I'm doing it, isn't it? Yeah. Well, listen, all of these folks here have been listening very intently, and I'm sure that they're very interested in what we're talking about, but I'm sure they'd rather hear you sing as well. So would you like to take up your positions over there, chaps?
Right.
And while you're doing that, I'll just introduce what you know. The boys... The boys are going there to take up their positions, and they are going to give us a song now. It's called Red-Haired Mary.